Hello and welcome to another top grades made easy video with poetry comparisons. The key thing is to understand the poet's purpose. Let's get started. Okay, this is a case in point. We're going to look at exposure. This is written before 1918, and look at the number of purposes. So I'm just praying that this one comes up because I know I'm going to be able to smash the grade 7 or above. So one purpose is to explore patriotism and suggest that it is an illusion. The war is pointless and there's no point dying for your country. The other is to focus on the hardships of war, which are dehumanizing, as we see in the description of the soldiers, and he wants us to feel sympathy for them. He's writing for the British public and trying to show them that they're not prepared for the reality of war. They still think it's noble and honourable, but actually soldiers are dying needlessly, not just in battle, but freezing to death because of the conditions and their lack of proper clothing and equipment. It's also to explore the importance of memory, as we see when they start dreaming of home. It's to celebrate the power of metaphor. This nature attacking them is all told through metaphors where nature is presented as an army. And that's, if you like, a structural technique that I'm going to be able to compare. It's also really interested in the sounds of words in poetry. You'll have to go and watch my video on exposure to see what I mean there. But the lines are rich in sound and it's important to be read out loud. He wants to show that war creates a sense of nihilism, sense that life is pointless and without meaning. And he also portrays war as a crime against nature. It's totally unnatural, which is why nature starts to rebel against them and attack them, as though they're invading nature through their man-made war. Okay, what can I compare it to? Well, I'm going to go first to Kamikaze, which shows that a culture can abandon life and glorify death. And that's what Wilfred Owen is complaining about in Exposure. To show the after effects of war on those who participate in it. This is not after the war, but during the war, but it's definitely on the same theme. To show that war creates nihilism, and also to explore the importance of memory. Okay, I've got 4 comparisons there. That's going to be a top poem to compare to Exposure. I could choose Remains, which exposes the after effects of war on the individuals who participate in it, and also makes a political point that soldiers are not looked after and tries to make us sympathise with the soldiers. Cool. 2 comparisons, so not as good as Kamikaze, but I might still be able to write really well about that. Now we have 4 comparisons from Charge of the Light Brigade. Charge of the Light Brigade is written to support patriotic propaganda, so this is a contrast to Exposure. It has the opposite purpose. It wants to promote the cult of the warrior and death as a noble sacrifice. So if you like, Exposure is a literary conversation where Wilfred Owen is writing a reply to this kind of patriotism, a reply to this poem. But in the Charge of the Light Brigade, there are also subtle hints that the war is wrong. This is a really sophisticated point. You need to watch my video on Charge of the Light Brigade to go through that. I'm not going to go through it here. Interestingly, Charge of the Light Brigade is written at a time when people routinely memorised poems, and so he's absolutely obsessed with the sound of his poem and writes it in order to be read aloud. And that's similar to Wilfred Owen, who is also really fascinated by the sounds he can create. So that's going to be a structure point, and therefore Charge of the Light Brigade is going to be a top comparison to use. And remember, tactically, I want to revise the ones that are written before 1918. So even though I preferred my first comparison to Kamikaze, I'm actually going to find that being able to write about structure and form is going to be easier writing about Charge of the Light Brigade. So this is going to be my go-to comparison. Finally, I've got 3 comparisons I can make to War Photographer. War Photographer explores the damaging effect of war on those who report on it and therefore are in it, Wilfred Owen is also writing as a reporter. He's trying to educate the people at home on the realities of war. Both of them are trying to accuse their readership of indifference to the foreign suffering. That's where the but nothing happens comes. Nobody's doing anything about this terrible suffering. And they both question the role of the media in perpetuating or preventing war. In Exposure, that's a bit more indirect, which is why Wilfred Owen is having to write the poem to correct the role of the media, which seems to be saying that the war is a patriotic duty. While I'm happy with those comparisons, Charge the Light Brigade is still my winner. And if you'd like to see some essays comparing poems, check out the video appearing on the left, and on the right, videos showing you how to use the FOSS method, which gets you the top grade every time.